everyone, Corey here, coming in to give a little card reading for your weekend. This is the 4/4 portal energy, and first and foremost, I'd like to give a shout out to my hairstylist and friend and colleague and everything in between, to Michelle Gibson at Evolution Salon, who did my hair today. So thank you. I don't have that regrowth. So let's start with the Everyday Goddess cards, and let's go into the card for the mind. And we're working with mind, body, spirit. So we're working with the mind, and we're working with the physical realm, our physical body. And the card that I pulled is the Observer, and this is Shelta, and this is from my Everyday Goddess Oracle cards. And so the card that comes out being the Observer, Shelta, is this card always had the image of, I always said it looked like to me as if we seen like this portal opening here, and it was the presence of the divine, like as if I seen something divine walking in. And we can see kind of, if we're looking through our thoughts, that's what they just give me. If we're looking through our thoughts, our beliefs, is that we can believe anything we want to believe. We do really have that ability to create the reality. The mind really doesn't know the difference between imagination and reality. It believes whatever we tell it to believe. It's the system that runs on what we feed it and what we believe to be true. And so our body may be reacting and responding, but it's reacting through its nervous system, not through its ability to consciously take action on its own in the physical part of the body. It needs us to be the one who kind of commands the way that we move forward in our lives. And so what it's telling me is, if we become an observer of our mind's ability and how powerful the mind is, and how powerful the mind can really persuade us, and how we can be swayed by our emotions, how we can be swayed by the world outside of us. And for some reason, this is coming up kind of everywhere. It's in the April report, it's also in the 4/4 YouTube video portal weekend energy update as well. And so becoming an observer is to really look at that self, and to see as if you are watching, as if you're bearing witness to yourself in motion, that as if you actually are able to analyze that thought, to really see, to question that belief that you have, to really look at things in a new perspective. And it seems to be an ongoing theme over the past few weeks, that this is where we are, or this is what's following us, or this is what's leading our way right now in the energy. And it's inviting us to take a deeper look. It's inviting us to dive a little deeper, to look a little bit deeper, to go a little bit farther. And so she is also in the card of the Maiden. And being in the card of the Maiden is in the beginning phases. It's in that new phases. It's sometimes we have the sometimes we have to really step in with the beginner mind and really look at things from a beginner mind. Look at it from the way of, as if I've never heard before, or as if I never knew before. And so the thing that we often speak of, that we use, is become curious. I'm curious. Tell me more. I'm curious. Tell me more. And so when we're communicating with other people, instead of jumping in and cutting them off, or telling them they're wrong, or interfering in whatever the conversation is, or kind of catching your own kind of chaotic energy that we have, is just asking, I'm curious. Tell me more. Tell me why you believe that. I'm curious to why that is your belief. I'm curious to where I've learned that before. And so really, the same way you would communicate with the world outside of yourself when you become curious, also become curious about yourself. So it's becoming like a little Curious George. So become curious, allows us the opportunity to become the observant, to become the observer as well. Now, the card that comes out that brings us into the physical realm and into the physical body, and because remember, is that what we think we bring into reality, right? Our thoughts become reality. And so let's look. So we have Magdalene. And as I said, this was kind of opening to the divine. And the first thing I ever seen in this card when I looked at her was I seen Mary, like Mother Mary, like the divine expression of divine mother energy. And then I pulled Magdalene. And Magdalene is about opening up the heart. And she is the eternal. She is in the mother energy. She's in the nurturing. So what are we nurturing in the physical world that kind of continues to keep us on that path? What parts of us, or what parts of our story are we approaching? What parts of our story are we approaching with a closed heart? What part of our relationships are we approaching with a closed heart? What part of the world are we looking at, observing, becoming, looking in at it and judging it with a closed heart? Imagine if we were to become imagine if you were to observe the world with an open heart, with an open mind. What would that look like? So eternal Magdalene, she's filled with that blue, which is our ability to be able to communicate. It is the throat. It is all tied into the energy center, the chakra of the throat area, and is where we communicate. And sometimes that communication is being quiet enough to be able to listen to somebody else as well, because it requires us to use our communication skills of listening. And when we listen with an open heart, we hear things differently than when we are listening, just waiting for the moment to respond. When our thoughts are already creating the conversation of what you're already going to say, because you've already got your mind made up, you've already got all of your judgmental thoughts already on that springboard, ready to be let go, ready to just come out. Those opinions, those judgments, that criticism, whatever that is, it's just waiting to come up and come out. It's like the yeah but, did you know? Yeah but. And it's just like, maybe if you leave those out of the equation and there's just nothing but an empty space, and that in that space you can truly be able to listen with the open heart, the open ears, the open mind, everything being wide open, an open space that doesn't already have the energy, the energy blocked, or the conversation blocked. And it's like, it's not an open conversation when it's already been shut down. It is just kind of waiting for your opportunity to jump in and to be forceful with that conversation of how right you are and how wrong somebody else is. And our mind does this, like we do it in the physical world. It happens in the physical world, but it also happens with our mind. Our mind is already telling us we can't do something. Like, no, that's not for you. You don't believe that. That's just bull. You don't want to believe that. That's not true. You can't do that. You're not that kind of person. Your mind's already got these stories that it has been attached to, that often comes from your conditioning and what you've been conditioned to believe, what's been programmed to you previously. And those programmed thoughts are already waiting to just jump in and say no, to shut down an opportunity, to shut down a possibility, to move beyond, forgiveness, or to move out of the way of a new opportunity or a new thought or a new possibility, to open up to from a limited self into an unlimited self. And it's just inviting us, or from a just only being logical and be logical and simple, or sensible, I was going to say. That's what they want to use. I'm going to use it. being sensible. Just be sensible. Just be like a grown-up, versus the little childlike energies like, let's be curious. Let's go do this. Let's just say, frig it. Let's just go do. Let's just go have fun. No, we can't go have fun. We can't do that. We're grown-ups. We're adults. And no, we don't believe in that. We don't believe in that. That's not for us. So or no, I'm too sensible for that. I'm the old one. We have all these attachments to identities and to labels and to all of those things that really keeps you from being able to live free of that attachment stories, or the imprisoned thoughts, the imprisoned self that is still being kept behind the walls, being held back, or to that possibility that maybe you may be more open to something new than you know. But if you can never approach it with an open heart, open mind, then how do you ever get there? How do we spiritually evolve if we only have the one track mind, or if we only have that one perspective? And you see this also in spirituality. We all must think alike. We all must be like. You see it through the dogma of faith and religion and all those places. And it's like, and it's not a judgment towards any of that, because I have a little bit of everything in me. And that's why my love of the everyday goddess is my love of women and people and those everyday women who don't live or think or believe like I do, and the opportunity to learn, and the opportunity to listen, and the opportunity to hear. But I tell you where there's the one place that we're all so much alike. We're all so similar in that we're all going to experience pain, hurt. We're all going to experience the grief. We're all going to experience those. And that's the things. And we're going to experience love. We're going to experience light. We're going to experience joy. We're going to experience all those things. And it makes us so much more alike than it makes us different. It's just we have different programming, different whys, different belief, different way that we live our lives, or the way that we choose. We create these different realities. But in reality, we have a lot that makes us more similar and more alike than it makes us different. And when we become curious about each other, we find the threads that bring us together instead of pushing us farther apart. And that's why the presence of the divine is so strong. Is this beautiful Magdalene, when we look at Mary Magdalene, is she was probably one of the greatest spiritual teachers. But was she the teacher that we know the most about? Well, no. But does it make her a less than? No. Does it make her teachings, her beliefs, her thoughts any less valuable? No. Does her anything of her past, her judgments, her life she chose, make her any less qualified? No. No, it doesn't. Does someone who believes something different than you believe make them less than you? No. Does it make them stupid? No. It makes them have a different opinion, a different way they see things, a different reality. It don't make them stupid. It don't make them dumb. It don't make them any of those things. And the moment that becomes our beliefs, is that's the moment we do begin to shut down. And so often throughout life, this begins early in life. And so if we even tell ourselves, well, I'm not smart enough, it's like I'm dumb, or, oh, these people are so, they're just so weird. They're so dumb. What would they know? They know nothing. They're just this and they're just that. We are just so filled with opinions and judgments. And this energy this weekend's given us an opportunity to just say, whoa, how about we become an observer of ourselves this weekend? How about we become an observer of everything? How about we allow ourselves to approach this with open heart, open mind, open ears, because that's how the divine approaches us. That's how the divine really, truly accepts us from the view of the observer. If we could become the divine mother energy, if we could become, if we could become the divine daughter, the divine sister, the divine, if we move it into masculine, is into the father, brother, all of that. If we could become that versus becoming the role or what we think we should be or how we think we should look at others, is we may be able to really truly release some of the tension that has been building, as if we have been wound up tight in the world and in society. We've been wound so tight to that there's so much tension, there's so much friction, there's so much of those that's built upon us, and everything begins to change when we begin to change. It is about the everyday person. It's about the everyday choices that we make. It's about the everyday way that we choose to live. And when we bring those, when we find what makes us most alike instead of what pulls us farther apart, when we start to release that tension, we find ourselves existing more in the spirit, because we find joy, we find commonality, we find connection, we create connection, we create space, we show grace, we exist in grace, we exist in faith and love, and we move into that sense of returning to love. Now the card for spirit that's coming up. Let's see. Doesn't want to stop. Nope. I thought that card was... The card fell to the floor. I really have to go down and get this. Sorry. So the unveiling, Scarlet. And this card, I always say, sometimes reminds me of the devil card, the energy. The energy of this reminds me of the devil card in Tarot. And the devil card is that mind's ability to be in our entrapment stories. Is if you're told there is a wall in front of you and you can't move beyond it. If you're told that there's a shackle around your wrist and you just accept the shackle because somebody else told you. It's like, well, that they put a wall there, so now I can't get through. And I'm like, so you've stood there being so disappointed and so sad and feeling so trapped because there's a wall, but you're only focused on this wall. Have you looked elsewhere? Have you gone elsewhere? Have you tried to get around, or have you gone inward? Have you gone inward? And we can only be trapped by that which we allow to trap us, right? It's that thought that allows us, that gives us permission to be trapped, to be in those entrapment stories. And so the spirit is saying there's always a way forward. There's always a way out. There is another way. There is, we can still be, and I always think back to Corrie ten Boom. She popped up when I was writing my books years ago. I had never heard of this woman, and she became this image for me of everything. Of when you hear it's impossible, she became everything that made things possible. Now, is she the only person in the world? No. We've all are the heroes. We all are heroes in some way. And we have to be the hero of our own story. And so being the hero of her own story and the hero for others, heroine for herself and for others, was that she was imprisoned simply because of who she was, not because of what she did, not because of anything she did, because somebody else believed her to be a problem. And so she had to be put into jail. And so she was imprisoned. And first, when she was imprisoned, she believed, I'm going to die here. Like, I'm trapped here. I'm stuck. My life is over. And then she realized that she had the one thing that they couldn't take from her. And that was her light. And that she was still alive. And as long as she had a breath and she was alive, she had an opportunity. And with that opportunity, she could still do things. She could still be of service. And so she found herself being of service to all the other women who were in this prison cell with her, in this jail with her, in this place where they should never had been. And as long as they could inspire each other and not lose hope, and to hold on to that hope, there was an opportunity. And instead of looking at the four walls around her and just saying, I can't get out of here, she started to think, what can I do while I'm in here? While I'm in here, still believing that someday I shall be free, is I will not let them imprison me within myself. I am free within. And so she became so much more. And that became such an inspiring story for me. And it's not the only story I ever heard, but for some reason at that point in my life, I was in that energy when I was creating these cards, when I was only observing through my pain body, trapped in a mind story, was that I was not seeing because life wasn't going as fast as I wanted it to go. As much as I thought my heart was open, my mind was open, I recognized through the ability to move beyond the ego and to go into the greatest teacher of humility was that to get into the flow was to open my heart and open the mind. And this is where we are this weekend. And so the unveiling became that which reveals a new truth. And the new truth was that we tell ourselves a lot of lies to create a truth. We tell ourselves, we believe a lot of half-assed truths to really get into that place and of where it's like our conviction becomes the only way, the only possibility. And so there's just so much that's moving here right now. And so she's here to unveil a new truth. And we're here to unveil a new truth, to open up to those new truths. What else is possible? Where else do I go from here? Now, the other thing about Scarlet that I absolutely love is when you look at her, I mean, she's in the crone energy. And what she says to us is when we look at life and say, okay, I may not have been in this experience before, but I have been in these energies before. I've had this emotion before. I've had this thought before. I've had this way that I'm responding before. But what did I learn from the last experiences? What did I learn from before? And one of the things we learn is we stop looking over our shoulders to see if people are approving. We stop, see if we're being validated, to see who's looking. And we stop looking over our shoulder to see who is looking. And we start to begin to look around and observe how much time we spend looking over the shoulder instead of looking forward, looking up, looking out, looking around. And spirit is the energy of the spirit is always observing from the inside out with a whisper, with a finding ways to be able to communicate or to get us to listen. And sometimes if we're not able to hear what is being said, is that we will misunderstand what is happening within our bodies, and we will label it as something that it is not. And then we believe there's something wrong with us instead of something right with us, instead of something that's trying to help us. So Spirit is inviting us to use all of this consciousness to move into this greater awareness with ourselves, to go easy. And so the turtle, so here's the perception of the turtle. If you see a turtle on land, is you'll be like, oh, well, that turtle is so slow. I don't want to be a turtle. It's going to take forever to get anywhere. I mean, the turtle has something figured out that probably many other species don't. And the turtle utilizes the elemental energy. It utilizes its ability to be on land. And when it's on land, it knows it's moved slower. But it also recognizes the power of the water to move it. When we recognize the power of the spirit to move us, then we can get to places, we can get to a new thought, we can get to a new way to exist. Things can change in a blink of an eye when we allow ourselves to be moved by spirit. When the turtle enters the water and the turtle catches the wave, the turtle can go a whole lot further, a whole lot faster, and things can change in a whole lot quicker for the turtle. Same thing with us. If we get into the flow, if we open our hearts and open our minds, the way we get somewhere may be come with a whole lot less effort than us constantly trying to trudge through or being stuck in the mud, stuck in our heads, stuck anywhere. And so this is the energy that it is bringing forth to us. It is bringing us in, the maiden, the mother, the crone. We have beginnings, middles, and ends. And so our journey and where there is such power is in the middle. And when you can see yourself being in the middle, it guides us to get to know what to do and who we need to be when we are at the end. So when someone else finishes a conversation and you have now come back to your divine presence and you've been listening with an open heart and open mind and being more curious, instead of coming in with the comeback or the you're wrong, is that you're now coming in with, that was so intriguing. It doesn't mean that I've changed what I believe, but I'm so thankful that I got to hear your perspective, your view. I have compassion for that. I get that. So if we start to do that with ourselves, talk to ourselves that way, imagine how much differently we would be treating ourselves. Imagine how much more gentler, kinder, softer, how much more compassionate we'll be towards our own misunderstandings, our own entrapment stories, our limitations, those areas where we have blocked the energy. And when we get into the flow and we allow spirit to move us, it can move us in directions and projections that we were never, ever expecting. You never know where you're going to end up. I never thought in a million years, with 33 years in the hair industry, that this would be my life. This was not in my plans. I wasn't going to find anything else. This was the projection of life. And the more that I got in the flow and out of the way and trying to trudge through the mud to keep going, to keep pushing through the pain, and to just keep trying to keep going, just stay doing what you're doing. Just push through the pain. It's like, no, I'm going to surrender to the pain. I'm going to listen. I'm going to become an observer to the pain. I'm going to recognize what happens to my body when I'm not pushing it, when I'm being kinder to myself, when I'm caring about my body. And throughout that journey, it brought me closer to spirit. It brought me closer to recognizing, well, I feel better. I feel healthier. I may not have the things that I would have physically had, but I have what I didn't have. And now now I have something that I didn't have before that is invaluable. And that is a healthier body. That's a healthier mind. And that's a deeper relationship with spirit, with my own soul, that soul relationship. And so, sometimes what's it costing us? To stop, shush, listen, and to allow ourselves to just trust that the universe, that spirit, that God, that your guides, that your loved ones, somebody has our back, and somebody or something is really trying to support us. And that thing that is most fighting for you is the thing the somebody that exists within you. And it is the somebody that never abandons you, never leaves you. And when you can change that perspective, you can see that, maybe I'm safe with me. So maybe I should allow others to feel safe to be in my presence as well. I send you so much love. Have a beautiful weekend, and I will speak with you next week. Go listen to the weekend energy update. That's also available. It is on YouTube right now. And this is on YouTube. This is on YouTube and on Facebook. So you can go listen to either or, but the energy update is also available here on YouTube. Much love. Bye-bye.